Hallo und herzlich willkommen zurück zu, ganz genau, dem Spiel, wo die GMP-Kosten so langsam wirklich zu hoch werden, The Phantom Pain. Eieiei. 60.000 kostet der Drop. Das ist halt echt der Wahnsinn. Und ich habe jetzt schon Ausrüstung 2 genommen, um so ein paar Sachen wegzulegen. Aber ich komme nicht drum rum. Es ist einfach so teuer mittlerweile. Ah. Wir sollen hierher. Ich habe wieder meine schöne Quiet dabei.
Fire at will. Begin cover fire. Stand down.
Sie hat halt echt schon geschossen, ey. Mach mal, ja, Aufklärung. Hoffentlich deckt jetzt halt hier der Chopper sie nicht auf, ey.
Enemy presence detected. The map has been updated.
Wir sollen jetzt entflohene Kinder zurückholen. Ja. Ich habe jetzt halt eben Waffen dabei, die auch gegen Helikopter effektiv sind.
The body has infiltrated and the map has been updated.
Wir müssen hier gucken wieder wegen Minen. Ich glaube, hier waren Minen.
Boss, you need to find those kids who escaped. Fighting's still the only way of life they know. If we don't bring them back, they'll just end up getting killed.
Werden sie getötet? Oh! Das heißt, es ist eine Sneaky-Mission. Wahrscheinlich. Ob hier Minen sind, gucken, ob hier Minen sind. Ich habe jetzt keine Sniper. Okay, der liegt hier, das ist gut. Da ist zum Beispiel eine Drecksmine. Der Auslöseradius ist auf mich gezeigt.
The map has been updated.
Der Sniper könnte mich halt entdecken vielleicht.
Clouds approaching. Analysis complete. Analysis complete. Analysis. Enemy presence detected. The map has been updated.
Der Heli kommt, der Heli. Wir wissen ja, dass wir hier nicht rüberkommen. Warte mal, ist das eine Kamera? Allradfahrzeug, okay. Ja, okay. Also wir müssen hier an dem erstmal vorbei.
The map has been updated.
Hochqualifizierten Soldat finden. Ja. Wo denn? Na, sagte mir da jetzt doch nicht. Sagte mir jetzt doch nicht. Na gut. Dann gehen wir mal rein. Dann gucken wir uns die Lage an. Also theoretisch könnte ich einfach reingehen, Dingens holen und raus. Aber wir wollen ja eventuell noch den einen oder anderen mitnehmen als Gefangenen.
Analysis
Oh ja, die ganzen Leute hier.
Analysis complete.
Und es ist ja offensichtlich... Ui.
Analysis complete.
Es ist ja offensichtlich, dass ich hier rein will.
Analysis
Ich
complete.
glaube, es gibt da auch nur diesen einen Eingang. Dort rein. Ja. Der Sniper könnte eventuell stören. Du machst gar nichts, Quiet. Du bist schon leise.
Fire!
Das ist halt ausgerechnet auch noch der, ne? Jetzt hast du Schiss oder was, ne?
Side ops list updated.
Okay, subject is in.
Extraction arrived at Mother Base. Analysis complete. Analysis complete.
Subject on board. Leave the rest to us.
Wow.
Spit it out.
Schon wieder zeigt er nur einen Spezialisten an, der da außen ist. Dieses Mal zeigt er einen Spezialisten an. Das bringt mir aber nichts.
Analysis complete. Analysis complete. Analysis complete.
Oh, der hat zwar S, aber ich weiß nicht, ob das stimmt.
He's coming too. Roger that. You gotta extract him.
Outpost captured. Analysis complete. Analysis complete.
Der hat sich gelohnt, die anderen beiden aber nicht. Jetzt fehlt da nur noch einer, den habe ich übersehen. Entweder weil er schlecht war oder weil ich ihn tatsächlich übersehen habe. Eins von beiden trifft auf jeden Fall zu. Okay, ich habe einen eher übersehen. Ja, den nehme ich. Okay, dann nächste Mission. Und jetzt ist es Zeit für eine Kassette.
You gotta extract him.
Boss, we gave Ralph, that kid who died in the accident, a burial at sea. The man in charge of that facility has been severely punished. But ever since, the kids have been acting strange. It's obvious they've lost their trust in adults. I was getting reports of them ignoring the staff, or getting insolent, and even violent. And a few days later, several of the kids did a disappearing act. They snuck into choppers and shipping containers and got off base. Why? Your guess is as good as mine. These kids were born in a war zone and forced to grow up as war fighters. If they're left alone, war is how they'll die. But I thought we showed them there are other reasons to live. I never liked having children on Mother Base. But the thought of them going back to the battlefield and picking up their old lifestyle is something I can't stomach. It makes me think of Chico, 9 years ago. We have to get those kids back. Hell, they know too much about our operation. I never expected even the kids to betray us.
Deckung aufheben.
Cease cover fire.
Oh, wir haben ja einen Karton.
Please select a delivery point.
Gehen wir mal hierher. Ach, quiet.
Buddy has infiltrated out. The map has been updated.
Bauplan.
The
Da habe ich nicht danach gesucht, aber ja, danke.
Analysis complete.
Nehme ich mit. Wenn du mir deinen gibst.
Analysis
Ja,
complete.
den brauche ich.
The map has been updated. Analysis complete. The map has been updated. Analysis complete.
Subject on board. Leave the rest to us.
Analysis complete. Analysis complete.
He's coming too. Roger that.
Wow.
Analysis complete. Analysis complete.
You gotta extract him.
Analysis complete. Clouds. Analysis complete.
Warum sind die alle so scheiße? Auch er ist scheiße.
Outpost captured.
Warum? Warum sind die alle so scheiße? Aber naja, gut. Mal, hier war ein Bauplan.
Subject on board. Leave the rest to
Aber
us.
ich hatte gedacht, hier habe ich den Bauplan schon geholt. Oder gibt es jetzt sogar 2 Baupläne? Hier schläft doch noch einer.
Analysis complete.
Alter, den hätte ich jetzt übersehen.
You have arrived at your destination.
Ah, den hatte ich doch genommen. Da bin ich mir ziemlich sicher.
He's coming too. Roger that.
Okay, hier ist noch einer.
Marker placed.
Den gucke ich mir noch an.
You have arrived at your destination. Analysis complete.
Ja, nehme ich auch noch mit. Dann fertig. Dann sind hier alle weg. Dann ist der komplette Bereich gecleart.
You gotta extract him.
Hast es jetzt mal quiet.
Ceasefire. Quiet.
Da hinten ist der Container. Okay, hier sind auf jeden Fall auch Gegner.
Enemy presence detected. The map has been updated. Analysis
That's the
complete.
target.
Ja, ist okay. Okay, die sind da drin. Halt doch mal still. Mann. Warum? Ach komm, Spiel. Ach Mann, ey. Warum? Das ist so dumm. Einfach nur dumm.
Analysis complete. Analysis
Ja, und
complete.
dann sind sie ja noch scheiße.
Side-ops list updated.
Subject on board. Leave the rest to us.
Plant expansion complete. Extraction arrived at Mother Base. Development project has been added.
Und was war jetzt hier? Panzerfahrzeugeinheit. Elite-Soldat. Kann ich aber nicht hinskippen, ne? Da kann ich nicht hinskippen, da würde ich sagen... Ja, aber da kann ich auch nicht hinskippen, ne? Stimmt, das habe ich gar nicht geholt. Dann muss ich da eh hinfahren. Ja, gut, dann, Dann habe ich eine andere Idee.
Support helicopter
Roger.
requested.
Snake, you remember the White Mamba? Of course, he's been going by Eli since we brought him on base. He was the leader of the child soldier unit we took out of that village and into our protection. Well, according to the kids you brought back here, all the escapees were especially close to Eli. There's reason to suspect he's behind all 6 escapes. We've already detained him. I'll be questioning him shortly.
Wait. You'll be?
Ocelot.
You're incapable of taking an impartial stance with those kids. Question them all you want. It'll get you nowhere.
Ocelot, you get too many kicks from your art of interrogation.
It's not a matter of art. It's about quick, minimal strokes of psychological warfare. That's what gets the answers. And it's the best way to keep both questioner and subject safe. The risks only increase the more an interrogation drags on. At that point, it causes as much pain to the inflictor as the inflicted.
Like I said, too many kicks.
What I'm trying to tell you is we need quick results. Otherwise, it'll be too little, too late.
I know that.
And besides, I know the subject. I won't go overboard with a kid.
Forget it. You're not needed. Snake, we'll want to question the other kids too. Be sure to bring them all back.
Gaining altitude. Departing.
Development project has been added. Clouds approaching. Please specify a project. Please select a landing zone.
report. That floating kid we've run into a few times now. Looks like he was a test subject in clinical experiments. The Soviets called him the Third Boy. The Third Boy was brought to a lab on the outskirts of Moscow from Czechoslovakia, after which he was due to be sent to a research center in Leningrad, then Siberia, and finally an academic town in Novosibirsk. It doesn't appear that the researchers witnessed the talents we've seen from him, but nevertheless he was quite the popular subject. His latent cognitive abilities suddenly awoke en route to Moscow. According to the report, the Third Boy was easily influenced by other individuals' biofields. Evil thoughts, in particular. They affected his mind like a virus. Extreme anger or resentment, motives for revenge, in other words. Now, during the transport flight to Moscow, the boy was exposed to a powerful mental energy field coming from a certain individual. Ever since, being conscious of his powers, he's become a sort of energy generator. What's unique about him is...
According to the intel team, the escaped kids should be around here. Locate and secure them.
To physically parasitize individuals experiencing extreme anger and codify the host's desires. This includes amplifying the host's natural strengths. Or, in accordance with the host's desires, he can also implant program code in another individual, making them a puppet, essentially. Human neural synapses transmit weak electrical currents between neurons. These electrical currents, though at a level difficult to observe, warp the magnetic field outside the body. The Third Boy is able to pick up these weak fluctuations. Contrary to psychotronics, which involves controlling the human mind, his abilities as a receptor are too high. The emotions he picks up from another individual are amplified and unleashed into his body as they recur in his brain. They turn into microwaves, which then affect the physical world, triggering paranormal phenomena like the spontaneous combustion of organic matter or psychokinesis, moving an object without touching it. There's one other thing. While he's parasitizing a host, the boy's ego gets shut away, allowing the will of the host to take control of his powers, like some annoying static drowning out your own voice. That means he isn't responsible for what's been happening. Somebody's extreme anger has manifested through the Third Boy's powers in ways none of us could have predicted, which would mean this was going on somewhere around us. Looking back on it, a lot of things make sense now. The man on fire, Sahelanthropus, they both came to life thanks to the Third Boy's powers. Everything has been happening through him as a catalyst. We first saw him in the hospital on Cyprus. The boy parasitizing the man on fire's desire for revenge gave him his new abilities in return. He next appeared at the Hamid Fighter's Fort where the honeybee was hidden. There, the boy parasitized Skullface's vengeful mind. He controlled Sahelanthropus, making it do whatever Skullface wanted. Same goes for when we extracted Emmerich onto the chopper. When he appeared at the Devil's House in Central Africa, Skullface's will controlled the man on fire via the Third Boy's powers. Everything is clear up to this point. But even the informant couldn't pinpoint who the host was in the cave within Surat power plant. Sahelanthropus suddenly became active, then crushed not only the man on fire, but Skullface as well. Surely neither of them could have been the host. Who else was at that location and bore anger more extreme than either of them? Whose will was controlling Sahelanthropus? According to the report, emotions transmitted in children's brains affect the surrounding magnetic field more strongly. Cerebral nerves are covered with insulation called myelin sheaths to increase impulse speed. The reason for this leakage has to do with the fact that children's myelin sheaths are still developing. So, how many children do you remember being there? Children with a burning desire for revenge and bearing a grudge against you. I can think of only one. Eli. We don't know what kind of life he's had, but the resentment he's shown toward adults is nothing. The Third Boy resonated with Eli's mind. And that means Eli bore the strongest animosity of all individuals within the boy's reception range, estimated to be a 3-mile radius, beating out even Vulcan and Skullface. The third boy's probably remained hooked on Eli's anger since. Remember the Devil's House? The third boy showed an interest in Shabani? That must have been his ego making a rare appearance. He may possess abilities...
He's coming too. Roger that.
But he's still a kid. Maybe them both being kids was enough to bring them together. And if so, maybe with Eli, he isn't feeding off him, but acting in symbiosis with him. So what kick-started the third boy's powers? If we look at the location and time that his plane went down... When the plane experienced the first anomaly, it gave an accurate report of its position to a control tower, due north of the Black Sea, 125 miles east of Kiev. Dead south on the Black Sea is Cyprus's Green Line. The plane...
Boss, that's a serious injury. It won't heal on its own. You'll need to treat it with first aid.
And this anomaly was reported at exactly the same time that you woke up. The plane was enveloped in flame.
Snake, are you okay? Snake!
Looking back on it, a lot of things make sense now. The man on fire, Sahelanthropus, they both came...
According to the intel team, the escaped kids should be around here. Locate and secure them.
As a catalyst. We first saw him in the hospital on Cyprus. The boy parasitizing the man on fire's desire for revenge gave him his new abilities in return. He next appeared at the Hamid Fighters Fort where the honeybee was hidden. There, the boy parasitized Skullface's vengeful mind. He controlled Sahelanthropus, making it do whatever Skullface wanted. Same goes for when we extracted Emmerich onto the chopper. When he appeared at the Devil's House in Central Africa, Skullface's will controlled the man on fire via the third boy's powers. Everything is clear up to this point. But even the informant couldn't pinpoint who the host was in the cave within Serac power plant. Sahelanthropus suddenly became active, then crushed not only the man on fire, but Skullface as well. Surely neither of them could have been the host. Who else was at that location and bore anger more extreme than either of them?
Boss, get down. The enemy sniper. Stay low and crawl along the ground. That should enable you to sneak past enemies.
Magnetic field more strongly. Cerebral nerves are covered with insulation called myelin sheaths to increase impulse speed. The reason for this leakage has to do with the fact that children's myelin sheaths are still developing. So, how do you remember being there? Children with a burning desire for revenge and bearing a grudge against you. I can think of only one. Eli. We don't know what kind of life he's had, but the resentment he's shown toward adults is nothing short of extraordinary. The third boy resonated with Eli's mind. And that means Eli bore the strongest animosity of all individuals within the boy's reception range, estimated to be a 3-mile radius, beating out even Vulcan and Skullface. The third boy's probably remained hooked on Eli's anger since. You remember at the Devil's House, the third boy showed an interest in Shabani? That must have been his ego making a rare appearance. He may possess abilities far beyond anyone else in the world, but he's still a kid. Maybe them both being kids was enough to bring them together. And if so, maybe with Eli, he isn't feeding off him, but acting in symbiosis with him. So what kick-started the third boy's powers? If we look at the location and time that his plane went down, we can make a pretty good guess. When the plane experienced the first anomaly, it gave an accurate report of its position to a control tower, due north. 125 miles east of Kiev. Dead south on the Black Sea is Cyprus's Green Line. So the plane's position was directly north of the hospital where you've been asleep for 9 years. And this anomaly was reported at exactly the same time that you woke up. The plane was enveloped in flame from the inside out. The fuselage burnt to ashes. There were no survivors, at least not publicly admitted. Your thoughts formed a synchronicity with the boy's psyche and were amplified inside his brain. That would have been more than enough to trigger his abilities. Your rage was like a big bang in his head, blowing the lid off his powers. The boy was then secretly moved to the lab outside of Moscow where Volgin was comatose. There, Volgin's thoughts resonated with the boy and he was awakened. Volgin became the man on fire, hell-bent on getting revenge on you. His instincts led him straight to you. Skullface knew Volgin from Operation Snake Eater, or perhaps from even before. Monitoring this pair of extraordinaries, he discovered the hospital and sent his assassin and XOF. Skullface was probably watching the situation from close by. Then, realizing how useful these two test subjects could be, he approached them. Reacting to Skullface's thirst for revenge, this time the boy let Skullface's will control Volgin. Volgin, at times driven by personal revenge, at times through Skullface's will, kept on moving, though his body was little more than dead meat. Perhaps there were moments where even your thoughts affected him as well. But without the boy's power, it was like the plug had been pulled from the socket. Everything was powered by anger, malice, revenge. This is how the end of the report sums things up. Both the third boy and the man on fire were originally test subjects of paranormal research for military applications, like telekinetically controlling the leader of an enemy nation and making him launch a nuke, or stopping the heart of someone on the wrong side of the Berlin Wall, experimenting with latent human abilities. They were used as tools of the Cold War. The boy's only crime was being born with unique gifts. But he was sacrificed on the altar of war. His life reduced to slavery under other people's wills. Turned into a living weapon with no will of his own. And eventually the only emotion he could feel must have been the desire to get revenge for the hand he'd been dealt. Boss, it's you that awakened the boy's powers. But there's more to it than that. I guess the anger emanating from you was something he could truly relate to.
Approaching. Analysis complete. Analysis complete. Caution, rain approaching. Support helicopter
Roger.
requested.
This is B-Quad. Arriving shortly at LZ. This is B-Quad. Have arrived at LZ. Will stand by. Quiet.
Boss, about the kids. It appears there's a movement among them to organize against us. I can think of only one person who'd be behind that.
Gaining
I'll
altitude.
continue to look into it.
Departing.
Snake, about the escaped children. Eli confessed. The way he tells it, they wanted to go back to the battlefield. Don't rob them of their freedom, he said. If you bring them all back, there will be consequences. Next, he'll be asking for our surrender.
Consequences? What consequences?
No idea. That's all I have for now.
You're too attached to those kids. Stop protecting Eli.
Listen to yourself.
Let me question him, and we'll get some real answers.
Not necessary. I'll report as and when.
Please specify a project. Please select a mission. weather will clear shortly.